You're listening to the Higher Grade Help Podcast, tips and strategies for service providers. This podcast is designed to help service providers build strong teams and grow their businesses. Hosted by me, workforce development industry expert, Sina Martin, each episode will cover a range of topics related to hiring and team building in the service industry. From finding top talent to conducting effective interviews, this podcast will provide insights and strategies to help service providers hire and retain the best team members. If you're looking to grow your business through effective hiring and team building, this podcast is for you. Hey, welcome back to the Higher Grade Help Podcast. Today is a super special episode that I've been sneaking out to you guys over the last couple of weeks and letting you know we had a special guest coming and now he's here. So we have Joe from Trainual on the episode today. And I'm going to introduce him really quickly. And then I want Joe to jump in and introduce himself. And before I read this introduction, I just want to say this. Trainual is a platform that I came across early last year as I began to build out different SOPs and processes. We talk about that all the time here on the show for our different clients. And when I found Trainual, it was like, oh my gosh, the heavens opened. And it was just so much easier for us to begin to build out these different things for our clients with Trainual. So I really want to get into what Trainual is, how you can use it for your company, and all of that good stuff today on the show. Joe is the partner manager at Trainual, where he partners with coaches and consultants who help small businesses systemize and scale their operations. Utilizing his experience helping to grow a small personal development company by 300% in less than a year, Joe helps to share the keys to growth in a sustainable way for your business. So Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Sina, thank you so much for having me on here and for all your good words about me, about Trainual. And I just want to say thank you not only for having me on the show, but for all you do for small businesses. As you know, like running a small business is so hard. And, to come in and be someone who can be a thought leader in the space and help, those small businesses thrive and succeed is just amazing. So kudos to all for you do. And I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for that. That means a lot. We don't always get our flowers as we're doing the work, but, to hear it, from someone else who's so valuable in our space, I just really appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, Joe. First of all, can you just share for the listeners who may be tuning into this and they don't know what Trainual is? Can you explain what Trainual is for the newbies here?
Yeah, 100%. And thanks so much for asking. So Trainual, right? When you think about the name, it is, two different words smashed into one, training and manual all in one place. So, and a lot of the stuff really encapsulates that for a small business, right? It helps small businesses train their employees and it helps small businesses have a manual for, their employees to figure out what the business does, what are the processes, who does what, everything about that business. And because it is this all-encompassing source of truth for the business, we call Trainual a business playbook, right? When you have a business playbook, it's all the plays, like if you think like a sports team, it's all the plays of what makes that team great. It's all of the information that makes your business great. What is the founding story of the business? What are the products? What are the competitors? What are the policies in your business? What are the SOPs, the processes, the how-tos? How do we run the business? Who are the people in the business? Everything in terms of what you need to know about your company is stored inside of Trainual, and we call it your business playbook. Because when you have a defined business playbook, you're not only able to have this source of information that all your employees can tap into, but it allows you to have them access information instantly without having to ask you, the CEO, like when you're in the middle of meetings all day or working on the business. It allows you to train on board and really retain new employees so much better so that when someone comes on board, you give them the playbook and say, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you go out and get the results that have really led to our success. And they take that and they get up to speed instantly without you having to do some extra work. And then in the end of the day, too, it allows you to scale because once you find a process that works, you can document it in Trainual, hire people on to carry out that process at scale without you having to basically have all the business inside your head and teach them one on or keep it all in there. So in the end of the day, right, like, the name of this episode is how to scale your business without burning yourself out. That's exactly what Trainual allows you to do. Because if you have all your business in your brain, and if you're the CEO and you're wearing all the hats in your business and you're doing the customer experience and you're doing the shipping and you're doing the sales and you're doing absolutely everything, you burn yourself out because you just are so at capacity. But when you can actually grow and hire new people on to do the same things that you're doing, ultimately that leads you not only to scale your business, but also to not burn yourself out and give yourself that mental sustainability you need to be that leader and get that piece of fulfillment that you wanted when you first started the business. So I know I got a little bit deep into like the no, it's perfect. the side of Trainual, but that's essentially what we do.
No, it's perfect. Thank you for breaking it down like that. That's exactly what I was looking for. I'm glad you said it that way. One thing you said right there, I wanted to pull out for a second. When you're thinking about scaling, I think a lot of times with small businesses, particularly those who are service providers or who are offering some type of high value service, which is typically who we work with and who listens to the show. A lot of times I think we go over, or they go over, right? They take themselves from, I'm doing the work, I started the business, I'm getting the clients, to how do I scale? And sometimes that middle part is forgotten. It's a rush to scale and to grow. And you don't always think of what's the pieces in between I need to duplicate myself, or as we tell our clients, create a mirror you. Like, how do you actually do that? And that's one thing I love about Trainual, because what you guys do is the onboarding is amazing. But one thing you guys do with your onboarding that is so critical for me is you make someone slow down and think about all those in-between pieces that need to get pieced together so you can go from I'm running the business to I'm scaling the business. Like, there's a lot of things in the middle that we leave out. And so I'm really curious to know from you, Joe, do you notice this with new users of Trainual, where they have to kind of relearn what those in-between pieces are within their business before they can even create their training manuals? Or what do you notice as, as the partner manager there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love that you brought up that journey into a small business owner, because a lot of times when we hear scale, what do we like? The first thought that I've seen a lot of business owners do, and I've been there before, running, a business before coming to Trainual, is when you think of scale, you think, what new additional products do I have to offer? What sales funnels do I need to deploy? Like, what, sexy new sales do I need to deploy? But that's not the answer. The answer to scale, and what scaling truly is taking what's already working and just duplicating it, to your point, right? Like at Trainual, like when we first launched, we actually had ads where, we had the CEO and we'd have his brother being like a clone of him. And that's exactly, like, I love how you said mirror you, is you're just cloning what has been working well. And so I think that's like a big misconception when it comes to growing. And it's nothing on small business owners. I think it's just, like sales and marketing and all that stuff is so sexy. But like SOPs and documentation is not always the sexiest or most intuitive. But it's so important and it makes it easier too, because you don't have to like sit and test and try new things out. You just basically have to put the systems in place to scale what you do. So we see people who get on board of training. We always say, hey, what are the things that are really working in your business right now? Because we have a concept with documentation, and that concept is don't write it until there's a right way to do it. And what I mean by that is when you have something that's a process, it's usually something that is tried and true and that's already generating revenue for you, and it's there. Now, in order to scale that, you just got to duplicate it. And the best way to do that is going through that process, documenting it inside a Trainual or any other system. Obviously, like, I'm coming from Trainual, so I'm going to say Trainual, but, you document it inside a Trainual, and then you hire people on to carry out that process. And because you have it documented, you can just hand it off to them and just say, hey, this is how we do it. And then that's how you scale from there. So we see people having to go back and really just understanding that it's, hey, you don't need the sales funnel. You don't need any of those things. What you do need is good documentation in place. And that allows, like you said, or them to go back into the business and reassess, okay, what is working? What are the key steps of this process? Everything like that. So they get more in tune with what has been working and scale it up from there.
Yeah. Oh man, we could just end the show right there. That was so good. Mic drop. That was so good. So when when you say go back into the business and figure out and look at like what's actually working, what can we document and start to hand over to someone to take place? Where are some of the areas you notice business owners look to find that? Is it like in their best-selling products or their best-selling services, like in their marketing? Where do you notice people usually start with that documentation in Trainual?
Yeah. So in terms of the things that's already working, usually I always look at like what are like there's a few different ways. Our CEO also breaks this down in his book, The Business Playbook. It kind of goes into like a few different levels. And we always want to look at, the place to start documenting is the place that you want the biggest ROI on. And what I mean by that is saying like, if you just document one process, like how many areas of the business is this thing going to touch? So, it's interesting. You say like the things that are working in the business, right? A lot of the times we think our first brain wants to go into like the process. It wants to go into like the SOP, and that's important. But I'm going to challenge it, and our CEO does too, and saying, actually look back a little bit more. What really works is the company culture, the mission, the values, what the company stands for, because that is really like the bread and butter of what really works in your company. And listen, you can have a well-documented process, but if they're not on board with the culture and everything like that, then it's really tough to have like an employee that's actually going to be built into the mission. So we even say, first and foremost, you got to document the culture. You got to document your mission, your values, your goals, your strategy against competitors, all those different kind of things, because that's the most important thing. And that's going to give you the biggest ROI because it applies to any role in the company and who you're going to hire on. So that's what I always say is what are the things that applies to the most people in the company? The second thing is what are the things that drive the most revenue for the company, right? That's where you get into that kind of process kind of mode. And so that's to your point, where you want to look into and towards the biggest or highest ROI stuff. So like, for example, if you see that like your sales team is really just driving a lot of revenue, or maybe you have this marketing strategy, like, all these different channel partners or anything like that, that's really, really working, find the impetus that's really going to give the biggest input and where you can say, hey, if I do more of this, then it's going to inherently lead to more revenue. And so therefore you're going to want to hire onto that position. So like, for example, if like your sales team is just killing it and you say, hey, if I have more sales team and, I need more salespeople to take on the leads I'm getting, then you would document your sales process, hire on a sales rep, get them on board and everything like that. But don't forget the culture first, because you want them assimilated to your company and want them on board and everything. So I always say, look at what's driving the most dollars and then what can be duplicated, because sometimes, right, like on ad spend, you can't always duplicate that, right? Because it's just, you got to spend more money. But what can you duplicate with people, right? And that's the big thing that you want to ask when you're looking at that.
Yes. It's so funny you said that, the culture piece. And I kind of asked it to see which direction you were going to go. It was like a trick question. But you got it. You said the exact same thing. I would have said it's the culture first. And we just did a whole series last week about the 5 different types of leaderships. And we made it fun, like pessimistic Pam, or what was the other one? Narcissistic Nan. Like we made these names of these different types of leaderships. But what it does is when a person's leadership type has some of those fears and doubts and worries, and you pass that into your culture, it doesn't matter what you document or how many ads you implement or what you spend on marketing, you're recreating that limitation all through the culture of your employees. And I love that you said the first place that you want to start and really what's going to help you move the needle if you really want to scale is to document the company culture and the mission and the attitude you want your team to bring to their work every single day. And this is something too we talked about recently with some of our clients in our higher grade help coaching programs. Is what's the culture that you've implemented up until this point? Because a lot of small business owners I hear, they say, well, I don't have a culture yet. I'm too small. So I know I need to document. I know I need to, implement these things. For example, what you're saying, Trainual will help us do, but I don't even have a culture yet. It's just me and 5 other people. Well, you still have people who are working for you. What culture exists right now? Even if you were unintentional in creating it, so like really think about that. So I'm happy you said that, to really elevate the importance of what we've been talking about on this topic the last couple of weeks. So let me go right from there, what you said with the culture. The next piece I wanted to know is once someone goes through this process now, they've done they've documented their culture, their mission, they know where they stand in the market. And now they're starting to get into what their biggest ROI drivers will be. What makes Trainual different from the other options that are out there to help someone to begin to compile these critical resources within their business, in their documentation?
Oh, it's a great question. And thank you so much for asking this. And I love how you're also a big fan of the culture, I must add too, because like that is, it just shows that you, you have your clients' best perspectives in mind. And like, and it says hire great help. Like that's the name of your company, right?
Yeah.
And when you hire great help, you want to retain the great help, and the culture is a great way to do that. And so I love how you're on board with that for sure. But in terms of like what differentiates Trainual, I think like a lot of the times the alternative to Trainual is Google Docs or SharePoint or Dropbox or even Word docs, or dare I say it, paper manuals. Like, yes. I mean, those are kind of like the big thing. So I can go on and on about all the things that are wrong, but I always like to ask this question, like in terms of just to like add the value, is like, have you ever like, number one, got assigned a Google Doc and it's like 20 pages long, right? And whether it's you're just getting on board with the company or anything like that, like what's the feeling that you get? And I'm asking you, Sina, like what's the feeling you get when you get like a 30 or 40 page Google Doc that's just tons and tons of text? How does it make you feel?
It's like, what's the TLDR? I'm not reading this. What's the summary bullet points? That's it. I'm not even looking at it.
Exactly, right? We get like overwhelmed. And so the thing is too, if you just give a 40-page document over to your new employees, that's going to be their first impression. And first impressions matter, especially when they're on the first day. And if you just go out and say, hey, I'm just going to give you this, that like reads something not great about your company. So what we do at Trainual is we break up that content in easily digestible chunk size format. So it's almost like an online course kind of format where they can kind of go through and see like piece by piece in there as well. On top of that, instead of just having text, we allow you to embed videos and GIFs and PDFs and TikTok videos, anything that make it nice and fun and engaging, which is just super, super cool in there because you want your documentation to be engaging, right? Like I mentioned before, SOPs are not the sexiest thing, and neither are documented processes or policies or anything like that. So you want to make it as fun as possible so people want to read it. So that's like a big thing. We really, really have that. And we even internally have an in-house L&D expert who basically is always teaching customers how to make their training content super engaging. And so that's one of the pieces in there too. The second thing too, and again, to kind of pick on Google Drive and all those things, like how many times have you went to go look for a document, right? And it's saying, oh, it's in the Google Drive. And you go, okay. And you probably spend about 15 to 20 minutes pulling out your hair, being like, where the heck is this thing? Open in this folder and being like, is it in here? Nope. It's just terrible. We make it super easy to not only organize your content, but to access it in just a few clicks of a button. So we give you like different collections is what we call it to organize your content. We have it all easily, organized in terms of different subjects. And at the same time too, we make it easy so that you can have roles only see content that is specific to them. So what I mean by that is if I'm a sales rep, I'm only going to see the content that's pertinent to the sales rep in there. And I'm not going to have to sift through the customer experience files or, the accounting files or everything like that. I can just see what's assigned to me. And it's also going to tell me what are the things that I need to review as well. So that's the second thing. The third thing is in terms of just accountability. And what I mean by that is you can give someone training documentation whenever, but if they read it and they don't understand it, then that is just pointless. Everyone says knowledge is power. And I think that is not true at all. Applied knowledge is power. Yes. It's only when you can apply it. So in order to make sure that your employees can actually apply the stuff that they're getting, we have two different things that build that in. The first thing is we have tests and quizzes. So you can build in-house tests and quizzes to make sure they're understanding the information. And then once they go through those tests and quizzes, you get an email saying, hey, this person got a 70% or this person got a 40%. So you can know exactly whether or not someone's up to speed on something. On top of that too, we also provide reporting as well. So you can go through our analytics and see when has Joe taken his training content? What's the timestamp on it? Is he just blazing through it and maybe just clicking through it? Like you can check all those things on there to make sure that you're holding your employees accountable to doing it as well. And then on top of that, we also have e-signature functionality where you can get people to sign off to add that extra layer of credibility on there. So I can go on and on, but the big three things, like I mentioned before, we make SOPs and policies, which are usually boring, fun, and engaging. We make it easy to organize and easy to access content. I thought I saw there's a stat. I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was 20% of an employee's work time is actually spent looking for the information to do their job. Can you imagine if you shave that 20% down to 2 or 3%, how much more productive and how much money that you can make? It's amazing. We try to solve that problem. And the third is testing, tracking, reporting, and accountability, which are three big things. And I think you need all those kind of things in order to sustainably scale a workforce and ultimately, have a business that's healthy and keeps you on track to scaling the systems that work for you.
Yeah, you said a ton, but so many, especially the part that I love the most about Trainual, and I can speak to this from experience because I've used it to create different manuals for some of our higher level coaching clients, is that it really does bring that focus into the forefront for whoever you're developing the training for. So like you meant, let's use the sales rep, for example. If the sales rep goes into the onboarding document, or let's say you created an SOP for whatever role they're performing, it is so engaging. There's video you can put in there if you want, screen shares and you want to show them how to accomplish certain tasks. You could put that in there, but make it funny. Like the GIFs are amazing. It really makes the document alive, but digitally, right? And so it's just, it's one of those things you cannot accomplish that with a Google Drive or with a Notion or all these other things that people are using. And though I use those other platforms too, I really have to say Trainual stands apart from the rest because of those features. It allows you to, like you said, hold your contractors, hold your team accountable, and make sure that they're actually understanding the role before you put them in front of a client or before you put them into a driver's seat within your company that's going to determine whether you reach a goal or reach a result or not. So I'm so glad you explained it that way, and you showed the real differentiators with Trainual. I know we're going to, do you have a special offer or anything you wanted to present to our listeners regarding Trainual if they want to take it for a test drive, like after they're hearing this and they're ready to go? Is there anything you wanted to share with them?
Yeah, 100%. So we always offer a 7-day free trial too, like just to test out the product. And we don't even take your credit card during that trial as well, because we're not about that whole life where it's like, oh, you forgot after 7 days we're charging you. No, like we want you to try it risk-free and just go through the product. So we offer a 7-day free trial. Any listeners to your podcast, because Sina, I'm super grateful just to be on here, everything. If you want 10% off any plan on Trainual, we're happy to give you a discount on there. So if you use the code HIRE10 at discount, you'll be able to, or at checkout, you'll be able to get 10% off any plan that you choose as well. And then the cool thing is too, we also offer, a free consulting call just to kind of see how Trainual can fit into your business. And so obviously, if you're looking for more in-depth help too, like I suggest Sina and her great team at Hire Great help too. So if you're looking for like more hands-on, like structural help into the business, I know Sina's the go-to person for that. And she's a great resource to tap into too for, if you want extra additional help setting up your Trainual account or anything like that. But at the same time, like if you want, to see like a little bit more about this specific Trainual platform, we're happy to have one of our product consultants jump on and hop on a call with you. But that's a 7-day free trial, 10% off your first year. And if you want to hop on a call with someone on our team, go so and do it. And if you want someone to help out with your account, Sina's your go-to-go person for that. And I've been working with her for a while now, and she's great. So she has my endorsement for sure.
Thank you, Joe. That means a lot. That means so much. And one thing I can say too is the support team is amazing. That's a concern with a lot of different businesses right now, is the customer support is lacking. I can tell you it's not lacking at Trainual. They will take you in their arms from the moment you sign up and make sure you're okay. So, definitely get in touch if that's something that you want to take advantage of. The links will be in the show notes so you can get started, take advantage of all those amazing offers that Joe just made. And one more thing before we wrap up, I just want to say, is there anything else you wanted to, like one last word of wisdom, one last gem you wanted to drop before we wrap our episode?
Yeah. And first of all, thank you so much again for having me on, Scene. It's so amazing to be here. I'll leave with like two different things, right? I think, there's two kind of like mantras that really helped me when I remember when I was growing up, as you said in the intro, when I was first running a personal development business, we grew 300% in less than a year. But the problem was like I was the right-hand man, just kind of doing everything. And like I was so stressed out, like just like working hours and hours on end, like 20-hour days, just grinding and just like, oh my gosh, like I can see why like growth kills businesses, like, just pulling my hair out and just wishing like, is there a better way? And then I realized that, if you can go ahead and just document out things and hire people on and train people to do the right way, that's how you get that freedom. And so I say that, and that's because that's how we grew the sustainable system. I ended up, finding Trainual because I said, wow, I wish I used this in my business. And I wanted to help that mission because I resonated with it so much. But back in the day, I realized that if you can document, if you can, delegate out things, if you can take off the hats in your business, it is possible to scale while also reducing your stress. Like, a lot of people think that scaling and stress are both correlated positively all the time. It doesn't have to be that way. And the second thing I get is like, okay, I get it, Joe, but documenting takes a lot of time. Doing the work takes a lot of time. First of all, I say, like, if you want help with that, like I said, go and hire someone to do it, like Sina or someone else. Like, they're happy to help. But if you are kind of taking this on yourself too, or if you are considering hiring consultants to help on these things, remember this adage that will help out. Document it once, delegate it forever. That's it. And so it's just like an investment, right? A lot of people think, oh my gosh, I got to spend all this time documenting. Yeah, sure. You might spend a few hours documenting, or you might spend a few hours like working with a consultant, or, you might, make that investment to work with a consultant. But the ROI on your time and money going forward and the scaling that you're going to get for that is going to have that forever. So remember that adage: document it once, delegate it forever. And that's how you build a business without burning yourself out there. And that's the last thing I'll leave everyone. And thank you again, Sina, for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
You're so welcome. Please take Joe up on, checking out Trainual. And if anything, this episode, what we could share in this time together, there was a lot of gems dropped. Take one thing and implement that today. We're always about action and implementation. So take one thing and run with that to make your business grow. So you can take a break. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We all need one.
We all need one. Thank you, Joe, so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sina. It's been so great, like, working with you, partnering with you, over the past year. And I just want to say I'm just grateful for this opportunity. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. See you guys for the next episode.